Hey, what's up guys, this is Gamestork, and before this video I need you to know that I'm in need of your help to replace my PC. You can help me out by going to gofundme.com/Gamestork and give any amount, and I'll give you a shout out in any of my videos after that. Thank you so much in advance for your help in bringing the best content possible. Enjoy this video. Hey, what's up guys, this is Jeff with Gamestork, and let's talk a little bit about Yebis being supported by the Nintendo Switch.
Gamestork, delivering news, reviews, and playthroughs like a newborn baby.
So some time ago we saw that Silicon Studio extended its support for its Yebis post-processing effects middleware to the Nintendo Switch. Now, Silicon Studio revealed at that point that its post-processing effects middleware graphics package called Yebis now supports a Nintendo Switch. Now Yebis, now up to version 3, allows developers to add glare, depth of field, motion blur, and anti-aliasing effects on their games, amongst other things. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, so what titles have been used, or have been created with the use of Yebis? And there are some really notable ones, two in particular, one of which we know is absolutely coming to the Nintendo Switch later this year. This is Dark Souls 3, Assetto Corsa, Black Desert Online, MotoGP 15, and Dragon Ball Xenoverse. Now it already supports obviously the PS4, PS3, Vita, Xbox One, Xbox 360, Windows, Android, iOS, Linux, all the other stuff, and other embedded devices. So it's coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, he's going to imply something. So here we go. Bringing support to the Switch does not obviously automatically mean that games will use Yebis. Games that use Yebis will be headed to Nintendo's console, but it does mean that developers now have even more options when it comes to ports, as well as adding cool visual effects to exclusive Switch software, which we saw in, The Legend of Zelda using Havoc and things like that, which now we know that third parties can also use this onto the console, and it really just gives a lot more options as to what third parties can bring, what we can see, and it does away with a lot of things that might be holding them back. Now, there have been a lot of speculation about Dark Souls 3 running on the Nintendo Switch. There was a release months ago about some of the developers saying that they did have it running to the degree of it being, good enough. There was never any indication as to whether or not they actually wanted this thing to come to the system. Now, that was never confirmed, but it was leaked out. And although it's still a rumor, let's just say that this is still a rumor. It's not like... Okay, it's not one of those things that has been confirmed, but it was out there, and no one did not confirm that. You know what I mean? Hate to use a double negative. So what that means is it's still, the jury's still out. We know that the footage that leaked through, I think it was GameSpot at the time or something like that, was fake. That was labeled Nintendo Switch. That was absolutely wrong, but the others were right. So, well, not right, but there's still rumors. And leading up to E3, we're going to see a lot of rumors. So we know that Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is coming. Okay, that's absolutely coming to the Nintendo Switch, and that is a massive game that requires a lot of power to run. It's a massive game that requires a lot. And my take on this is if Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 can run, especially the online functionality, all those things, if it can run effectively, then there's no reason that Dark Souls 3 can't. Especially considering that Studio is listed on the main, From Software is listed on some of the main earlier, now mind you, earlier partners of Nintendo Switch, which means they're already in development on something. Now, what this could be, if it's this rumored 2D game, that's fine. But I know that they've expressed interest in bringing Dark Souls 3 over to the Nintendo Switch, which would be huge for me. I think that they should also port the first two. Why not? Just go ahead and make it a trilogy pack. Now, as far as the other games, they would all be okay. But I honestly think that just this running on the console in general, supporting the console in general, is huge. Wii U failed because they made it really hard to develop for, and Nintendo did not focus a lot on that console. they made games very sparingly. And so the third party, as it began to slip away, sales began to slip, and there wasn't a reason to purchase that console. And that's just what it was. Don't get me wrong, I loved the Wii U until I had to go use the bathroom and realize that I couldn't, take that with me because the gamepad just would not walk away from it. But it still had its good points, and I did play plenty of great games on it. Don't get me wrong. Even though the concept of the console was convoluted, it was very confusing, but it was still, it was still a solid console. Now the Switch is something different though. Nintendo immediately went out and immediately made sure that they had partnerships, that they had these engines running on here, like Yebis. It doesn't seem like a huge deal, but it really is a big deal to have all these things running and fully functional on the Nintendo Switch so that third parties can easily port their games. Because two things need to happen for a third party to port their game. You want Dark Souls on the Nintendo Switch? Here's what Nintendo has to do. Number one, they have to sell this thing like crazy and prove to them that the install base is there and they'll make money. I think they're doing that. Number two, you have to have all the components of the game easily accessible and also make it easy to develop in that. So all like Yebis and Havoc and all those things that are needed to play the game need to be fully compatible. Now the biggest hurdle that the Switch has right now as far as these systems, I guess you'd say, like Yebis and things, is this. The low power mode, the handheld mode, is something of a puzzle right now to some of these developers. But I think as advanced as these guys are and as wonderful, if you can make Grand Theft Auto run on a cell phone, you can make Grand Theft Auto run on the Nintendo Switch much easier, right? So the thing is, though, is getting it to where it runs at an equal measure, because they don't want to downgrade it once you pull it out. So they want it to run at the same capacity as that 1080p output in the dock, and also the lower power mode, which is the handheld mode. And in the future, we'll probably see them upgrade like they did with the new Nintendo 3DS, and put the X2 in it once it's out. Nvidia is cashing in right now, so after a few more years of great sales, making money, you can bet that they're going to make a new chip that's going to run things that will surpass the PS4, lower power, this and that. Nvidia has done an excellent job with what they've been doing there. And a lot of people hate on the Nintendo Switch, and you know what? Yeah, it's whatever. It's if that's your thing, if that's what you want to do, if that's what makes you sleep at night, that's fine. But the fact is this is like Super Nintendo-esque in what it is, and it's a wonderful console, and it's a solid console that I believe still, it still needs to prove itself to the general market. A lot of people see it, I see it, but people who haven't bought it, people who haven't picked it up, people who haven't taken it with them to work, people who, who are just, they're missing out and they don't understand the concept. But once those games like Call of Duty, Resident Evil 7, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, possibly Dark Souls, hopefully, I've seen they've disproved Assassin's Creed. Well, those disproves and those verified that it's not coming is just as subjective as saying that something is coming. So me saying Dark Souls 3 could come is the same thing as someone saying, oh, Assassin's Creed is definitely not coming. Because at this point, you don't know. Because at the end of every one of those trailers that you see, there's a small writing that says, console support is likely or could change in the future, which means we can't tell you. Not to mention that Nintendo makes these guys sign papers to say, do not tell anyone, because this needs to be announced at E3. So if that's the case, obviously they're not going to be able to advertise that at this point. So hopefully we'll see some bigger games come in the future. Things like Dark Souls and all, those are huge system sellers. Nintendo stock just burst through the ceiling when Monster Hunter Double Cross was announced yesterday, and man, you just couldn't ask for a better lineup. This system is really coming together, and Nintendo's first party is rocking it. Capcom is rocking it. Ubisoft is all in, which we don't see all their cards yet, but we know they're there. From Software is developing for this thing. I mean, there are games coming from all around for this console, and to say that, number one, this is going to fail, you'd have to be stupid. And I'm sorry, I love you, but if you're going to say at this point the Nintendo Switch is going to be a failure of a system, you're missing the mark, you're not looking at sales, you're not looking at the future, and you're just not seeing it. By the time Mario Odyssey comes out, let's hope that they got millions of these things on shelves for Christmas, because they're going to sell like hotcakes. I mean, the library at the end of this year will already be built up so much that it will be worth every penny to purchase these. Which makes me really hope that they put that X2 in a unit, maybe next year at the end of the year, and announce it at E3. That would be great, like towards the end of 2018, to make it more powerful for us. Anyway, guys, that's this chat. I love getting on here and discussing this stuff. and I know that you love it too, so thank you so much for watching. I certainly appreciate you. Be sure to like and subscribe below if you haven't. Sound off in the comments and let me know what you think about Yebis and it running on the Nintendo Switch, about this, this option being available to third parties. Again, thank you so much for viewing. Thank you so much for listening, watching, commenting. I love you guys, and we'll see you next time.